a smoky day in old LA, a distant rumbling of a morning freeway. This place is really okay.
Modern art in Los Angeles has an exciting and vibrant history. Its unique trajectory sets it apart from New York and Europe, but its distinctive contributions are only now being fully appreciated.
This place is really okay.
Pacific Standard Time, a project 10 years in the making, encompassing over 70 cultural institutions across the region, highlights the rich artistic production of Southern California, bringing into focus LA's role as an international center of creative energy and innovation. Cross currents in LA painting and sculpture, and other Pacific Standard Time exhibitions at the Getty Center, explore the unique artistic innovations that developed in Los Angeles during the post-war era. Los Angeles is the birthplace of many of the most influential art movements of the second half of the 20th century. Yet, even in that century's first decades, in corners of the city, people like self-taught artist Simon Rodia were forging innovative and imaginative ventures that anticipated the vital cultural movements of the post-war period.
He put pieces of glass together, how he put bottles together, and he had some wet cement and he didn't know what to do, so he imprinted his tools in there. I didn't think of it as art. I didn't think, I didn't know what really art was, except that I had crayons and we drew. But it was just like that kind of freedom to make something out of nothing.
As Rodia's towers rose in watts, a number of world-renowned architects were designing buildings that would come to stand in the minds of many for modernism in Southern California. In the years following the Second World War, there developed in the region a number of significant and vibrant art forms distinct to Los Angeles, including large-scale ceramic sculpture and hard-edge abstract painting. Under the banner of abstract classicism, painters such as Carl Benjamin, Lorser Feitelson, Frederick Hammersley, and John McLaughlin created paintings dominated by geometric abstraction, marked by the use of clean lines, bold colors, and the dynamic rhythms of interrelated forms.
Abstract classicism. We only were happy with that word because it gave us a name, made it a product, brand.
At Otis Art Institute, under the tutelage of Peter Volkus, there developed a strong community of artists that included John Mason and Ken Price.
Well, Ken decided that it was easier and more appropriate for him to not be locked into the ceramic tradition. That did two things. It outraged the ceramic purist, and it gave the one who said that's only ceramics, said, no, now it's art because he used paint on it.
They dedicated themselves to stretching the boundaries of ceramics, developing the medium from a traditional craft into a significant sculptural art form, creating ever larger and more ambitious works, and experimenting with glazes and industrial sprayed lacquers. Other artists in Los Angeles looked to their immediate surroundings for inspiration and for materials. Many began to make art out of things that they found in their own backyards, on the beach, in the streets, even in the local junkyard. Beat artists like Gordon Wagner, Wallace Berman, and George Herms fashioned poetic sculptures and collages from discarded materials. They drew their inspiration from surrealism, jazz, and the beat poetry scene in Venice.
If we go back to the 50s, there's a glut of materialism. The spiritualists forget it. Everybody's just in it for the latest car, the latest whatever. So there's a kind of a philosophical wagging of the finger that these things are being thrown away. There's still life. And even though they don't function their original reason for existence is no longer applicable. They still can be raw materials for a work of art.
As the 1960s dawned, artists turned to more directly political subjects, exploring the darker side of consumer culture and commenting on the social upheaval of the times. Ed Keenholz made macabre tableaux that conveyed searing social critique. Mel Edwards welded steel into lynch fragments. In Watts, near Rodia's Towers, Noah Purifoy and his friends made works of art out of the debris of the 1965 Watts uprising. And on the Sunset Strip, dozens of Los Angeles artists came together in the country's first artist protest against the war in Vietnam. In the 1960s, the Los Angeles art scene was on the rise. Galleries boomed, sales increased, and artists began to forge an international reputation for themselves. Nick Wilder, Rolf Nelson, and Rico Mizuno were just a few that opened galleries on La Cienega Boulevard, or Gallery Row, as it became known.
Monday night on La Cienega was the center for openings and parties, and right up the street is Barney's Beanery, and everybody would go up there, and so it got to be a regular scene.
So everybody kind of knew everybody, you know, all the Ferris guys hung out at Barney's Beanery. I used to hang out with them, you know, much to their chagrin. There was no really idea of making money from art. Everybody had this idea that, you know, if you could be taken seriously as an artist, that was the goal.
Art Forum, the art magazine of note, relocated from San Francisco to Los Angeles to an office above the legendary Ferris Gallery. Los Angeles gained a reputation as a center of pop art on par with London and New York. Andy Warhol had his first solo exhibition at Ferris in 1962. At the Pasadena Art Museum, Marcel Duchamp had his first ever retrospective. The museum's curator, Walter Hopps, the former director of Ferris, also mounted the first exhibition of pop art, New Painting of Common Objects. It showcased the work of Ed Ruscha and Joe Good, who drew inspiration from the urban landscape of Los Angeles, with its roadside signs and bold graphic images. Other artists, such as Billy Al Bankston, John McCracken, and Craig Kaufman, utilized the new materials and technological innovations of the region's surf, motorcycle, and custom car cultures, as well as its science and aerospace industries. Peter Alexander, Helen Pashkin, and Duane Valentine invented new processes to create beautiful objects with sensuous colors and immaculate reflective surfaces.
All of us utilized these materials. When we were able to, we would work with the chemists, trying to find out how the materials behaved under different circumstances. In the end, we all had to figure it out for ourselves. But they were all being used for a very simple end, which dealt with perception, light and space and perception.
While some critics called this the LA look, others labeled it finish fetish or California minimalism. As the 1960s progressed, the perceptual effects that these works created became a primary concern for many artists. Some, including Norman Zammit and Mary Corse, made paintings and sculptures that played with the relationship between artwork, viewer, and gallery space. Others, such as Robert Irwin, James Turrell, and Doug Wheeler, developed immersive light and space environments that further disoriented their viewers and drew attention to the phenomenal processes of experience. Judy Chicago established the first feminist art program at Fresno State College.
By the end of my first decade of professional practice, I was just completely fed up. I was fed up with being told I couldn't be a woman and artist too. I was fed up with the idea that no matter what I did, I couldn't get anywhere. And then the women's movement started, and I saw that it meant that I could be myself.
The Woman's Building in Los Angeles was a collaborative endeavor, internationally recognized as a symbol of the vitality and substance of women's creative achievements. John Baldessari's post-studio art classes at CalArts influenced a generation of conceptual artists. From hard-edge painting to light and space, from assemblage to performance, from California minimalism to conceptual art, the legacies of this rich cultural history still resonate today, making Southern California one of the most vibrant contemporary art scenes in the world.